Keepie Uppies with Ruchi and Tots.
Hello everyone, just absolutely delighted to be joined by Enniskillen Rangers under-17 coach Lee Hamilton and the creator of the Irish Cup, the Irish Virtual Cup. Thanks Lee for taking the time out to speak to us here in Keepie Uppies.
No problem, good to be on.
Happy days, and it's good. We're calling this October West. It was awful. I feel like I need somebody to go just stick to my day job, I think. But we've had a couple of guests from Fermanagh. We've had Whitey Anderson from, obviously you'll know him from his time at Ballinamallard and all his youth work in Fermanagh. So it's great to have you. So we're gonna start you off nice and easy. As I said, we want to, you know yourself when you're playing a match. You want to get a good early first touch, good strong tackle on the winger. So to start you off, then, what team did you support when you were growing up, and who was your football hero?
So my team growing up and still is Liverpool. So we're going to get on okay. Sport. I remember I started out really, I think I was around 10 years old, and at first all my friends were United fans, and everywhere you looked was United tops. And that season, 2001, Liverpool did the treble. So I said, they've won 3 trophies, they can't be too bad. So I started supporting them. And it was really just to go against the grain than anything else. But I've supported them ever since. In terms of football idol, I started playing as a goalkeeper, and I suppose my very first idol was David Seaman, late 90s, was early 90s for Arsenal. And then obviously when I was watching Liverpool, Stevie G was the standout, and Jimmy Carragher as well. And watching that squad of 01, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, and then progress. Then obviously Champions League squad of 05, and then most recently then under another hero of mine now, Jurgen Klopp, and when the league title was fantastic, getting to cup finals. We're very spoiled for success now, when you consider we went through some dark years with some questionable signings, I suppose is the best way to put it.
Very good. So David Seaman then, what about, was there any sort of standout Liverpool goalkeepers that you would have looked up to and tried to model your game? David James maybe, or was he a wee bit too dodgy? Or
it was probably more, Liverpool goalkeepers around that time were dodgy, I think, to say the least. Obviously I modelled most of my game on any keepers you could really see at the time. The most was probably David Seaman, and then as well obviously Peter Schmeichel, but he was coming towards the end of his career. I believe at that time he was at Aston Villa before moving to Man City. And you've tried, any time I watched a live match, I tried to take something from any goalkeepers that I've seen, no matter who they played for. I remember watching Fabian Barthez when he signed for Manchester United, and just thinking he was crazy. And I think a lot of United fans would agree, but the saves he made were amazing. And Jens Lehmann a few years later at Arsenal was doing the same thing. Absolute bonkers of a keeper, but a great shot stopper, and absolutely won so many points for Arsenal during numerous campaigns and league wins. But really early on, kind of tried to look up to as many goalkeepers, and obviously local as well. I watching Northern Ireland, Mike Taylor, Roy Carroll as well, and trying to take little bits of their game and apply it to my own in those early days of playing.
And speaking of David James, that was actually my first Liverpool top was the Liverpool goalkeeper top of the 94-95 season. It was like a purpley black coloured top, and it had David James at the back. I have no idea why I picked David James, but actually for a couple of years, David James was actually a decent keeper. He just went through an awful, probably 2 or 3 seasons where he just seemed to be giving goals away most weeks. Coming for crosses and not collecting them. But his first couple of years at Liverpool, he was pretty decent, and he was very young when he actually got into the Liverpool first team, but obviously had a couple of torturous few seasons.
Yeah, and I think like any young goalkeeper, even now you look at the Premier League, you look at the likes of David De Gea at United, you look at Kepa at Chelsea. These young goalkeepers, they will make mistakes. But I worked as a goalkeeping coach for a few years as well, and getting the resilience built up and letting them know that yes, you will make mistakes, but long term, as you say, David James made quite a few mistakes, but I think they hold one of the records for the most appearances by a goalkeeper in the Premier League, something like that. So he went on to have a fantastic career and played till he was in his 40s, as most goalkeepers tend to do nowadays.
Yeah, certainly had a fantastic career in the Premier League and quite a few caps for England as well. And you kind of touched on it there, and you'll probably know more about it than anybody else, but I suppose as a goalkeeper, it's probably the position where you need to be mentally so strong. And we'll talk about mental health obviously later on, but as a goalkeeper, you must have to be mentally strong because you literally cannot make a mistake. I played right back. Yes, I couldn't make a mistake, but I probably had a centre back to cover me or somebody else, or even the goalkeeper to cover me. But as a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, 9 times out of 10, it ends up in the back of the net. So it must be tough as a goalkeeper. Did you find that when you were playing? Trying to get over maybe a bad patch that you were having? And what sort of advice do you give to the young goalkeepers when you're coaching? If there's any young goalkeepers out there that is maybe listening to the podcast, is there any advice you would kind of give them if they're going through a tricky patch?
Yeah, I think it's you're right what you're saying. I always use the sort of the analogy of the striker. A good striker, he may miss 9 shots out of 10 during a match or during a couple of matches, but if he scores one, nobody will remember the 9 that he missed. He could miss 2 or 3 open nets in a game, but he puts one away in the last minute for the winner, and nobody will mention the open net that he missed. But yeah, in terms of goalkeeping, it is extremely tough. I always say that it's the toughest position on the pitch. You have to stay switched on for the entire 90 minutes. You could have nothing to do for 89 minutes, and then the last minute make a one-on-one save or collect a cross or make a superb save, and it's very tough, especially as young goalkeepers. And my advice always, I've worked with a lot of young goalkeepers, and the first thing is I always say to them, well, do you want to do goals? Because if you have that want and if you have that I suppose even passion for it, then yeah, by all means jump in, because the world always needs more goalkeepers. I think recently in Northern Ireland especially, there's been a shortage of goalkeepers, but hopefully with the success of the Premier League and the, I suppose, coverage that now goalkeepers are getting as well, and at international level, then hopefully we're going to see a lot more people picking up the gloves. Resilience is a huge thing, because even though you might make mistakes, everyone's going to turn around and have a go at you. And especially for me, it always came from my defenders. But I said, well, you let them have the shot. I did my best, but you let them have the shot. So I blame my right back quite a bit.
That's straight out of the Peter Schmeichel handbook, was it not? He always used to just bark at the defenders and blame them if a goal went in. So just that's maybe that's the way around it. Just blame everybody else. It's not my fault.
But, but it is tough, and for young goalkeepers, I always say, resilience is the key. It's if you make a mistake at under 12 or 13 level, but you keep going and you keep improving, you're not going to remember that mistake next year or in 2 years or 3 years time or in 5 years time when you're playing in first team. Those mistakes, you will get over them. Everybody else will get over them. But it's about having the mental resilience to do it. And I see a lot of unfair criticism on young goalkeepers because I've been there and I've done it, and it's extremely difficult to do that. And because it's such a specialised position, I don't think a lot of clubs have that specialist coach there to help these kids on the next step, and it can be difficult then to maintain the goalkeepers as they get older if they haven't got that knowledge, or they haven't been given that knowledge at a younger age.
Yeah, some sound advice, and we're pretty lucky enough at Liverpool fan myself, that we've got Alisson. And one thing that always sticks out for me with Alisson when I compare him to the goalkeeper before him, Karius, who came to Liverpool, remember, very highly rated from his time in Germany with Mainz. But when he made those couple of, not even just the mistakes in the Champions League final, that was probably the end for him. But he made a couple of bad mistakes. I remember when he just first came into the Liverpool team. I remember one bad one away at Bournemouth. I think one against West Ham at home. You could see he was effective when you watched him, like later on in those particular games or the weeks that followed. You could see it badly affected him. Whereas with Alisson, he had his tricky patches as well. I remember Man City 2 seasons ago in the same match, he gave away 2 goals from 2 bad kickouts. But he didn't get the sense that it affected him. He just sort of brushed it off, and he was able to regain his form as the season. And I think that same season where he made those couple of awful mistakes against Man City, he ended up scoring a header against West Brom. So I think he just seems to have that aura about him, that he's very calm and collected, and he doesn't seem like anything phases him, even if he does go through a bad run or makes a couple of mistakes, whereas that was probably the opposite with Karius. And even Dudek as well, when he made those awful mistakes against Man United, that basically destroyed his confidence, and he never really recovered from it. So you do have to be, as you said, very resilient and mentally strong. But I suppose that comes with experience as well, because for goalkeepers, they maybe don't mature until really into their mid-20s, late 20s, don't they?
Yeah, you're like, you hit the nail on the head there, really, that it does come with experience, and the more that you play, yes, the more mistakes you will make, but then it's about learning from those mistakes as well. And I think a huge part of it, especially in the case of Alisson, is having the right coach there. First of all, you're the right manager, but also then the right goalkeeping coach. Because I believe we brought in his national goalkeeping coach, and the coach that he gets on the best with, and he's the best relationship with into Liverpool. So that there's a lot to be said for that there as well. On the flip side of that, there, you mentioned Jerzy Dudek. I remember him making some horror mistakes whenever he first signed, to the point that Liverpool actually went out and bought 2 more goalkeepers, Chris Kirkland and Scott Carson. And on the flip side of that, then you had Pepe Reina, who came in his first match against Sunderland, saved a penalty, and his confidence was oozing out of him. You could see that over the next few weeks and months. And being a goalkeeper is massively about confidence. If you have confidence in your defence and you have confidence within yourself, you do give off this, I suppose, aura in a way, and this nothing's getting past me today, and it gives in the whole team confidence. If you know you have a good man between the sticks, the whole team can rely on him. It sends confidence throughout the whole squad.
We can nearly do a podcast on goalkeepers here. Maybe that's what we should have done.
Yeah.
One on Liverpool and one on goalkeepers. But Lee, tell us about yourself then. How did it all start off? How did you, I suppose, what was your first football memory, kicking a ball, or how did things sort of start off for you then in your own playing career when you were a young boy many moons ago?
Yeah, it's a long time ago now. I suppose like any of us or most of us, I started playing with my brother at home, and we would watch the Premiership as it was then on ITV, and match day, and any chance we got to watch live matches we did, playing with other kids around us as well, and creating, it was just mass games. You might have had 20 or 30 kids on a small green area, but I always went into goal, and my granddad actually was a goalkeeper too, and he gave me a lot of help and a lot of encouragement and advice, and that as when I was growing up. And then played with school, from school then got to know quite a lot of boys, and we formed first formed a youth club with Clubby Strollers. So that was my hometown club. Loved the club, and a lot of my family have been playing for the club at the time. And yeah, we got together and we played matches and we had training, and it was just a really good group of friends all playing together. Now, no matter whether the match was won, lost or drawn, we probably lost more than we won, but it was all about us going through, I suppose, that development together, and with the aim then to play in the Fermanagh Western Division 1 with the first team. And we were quite lucky that a lot of us got to do that before the club unfortunately folded. So after it did, I went to the other local club in the area. It was Fermanagh Town, very successful club that you'll know well, and went there and played there for a few years before going to university, and then played Sunday League for a couple of years in England, and so I was coaching really during the week and managing a team on a Saturday, and then playing on Sunday myself and Sunday League. Sunday League is interesting. You had a few boys out the night before, and they're a bit worse for wear. Can make for interesting matches.
I was just going to ask you, what was the Sunday League football like then?
I remember one match we turned up to play, and we turned up and no team was there to play us. Okay, where is everybody? And then I suppose, people carrier pulled up, 2 people carriers pulled up. The guys got out the back of it, still half dressed. It turns out they had been on a stag do the night before and had only just kind of got home in time to grab their kit before coming out, and they were still in their stag do gear. So that kind of told you everything you need to know really about Sunday League football. The midfielder that I was playing midfield in that game, and the midfielder who I was up against came up next to me and said, "You don't need to worry about Mark, mate. I'm not going anywhere." So he didn't leave the centre spot the whole game.
Please tell me you beat them.
Yeah. It was one of them that you didn't know whether to take them seriously or not. I think, is this some sort of ploy or what's going on here? Like, these can't be this bad. But yeah, fair play to them, I said, for still turning up.
I was going to say there, absolute dedication from them.
Yeah. But it was, I always enjoy playing. I still enjoy playing now, and I play, 7-a-side or 9-a-side with a few guys during the week here in Enniskillen. So still puts a smile on my face playing. I still enjoy it. I still think I can play, and I still give it my all. I'm not far away from joining yourself there in the over 35 league, but I have a couple of years left in me yet.
Very good. And we keep saying every week we desperately need a goalkeeper. I know it's a bit of a jaunt from Enniskillen to Lurgan, but I'm happy to pay and Munster Munch or whatever it is, or I was going to say I'll pay your petrol, but that will cost me an absolute fortune these days. But honestly, we need a keeper. So, whenever you're hitting 35, just give us a shout.
They've actually started a league here as well, an over 35 league. Here, I think they play once a year, twice a year. So in a couple of years, I'll aim for that.
Very good. Well, you've got my number, but it seems to be really taking off, actually, the over 35s. They seem to be getting more and more teams entering it. So there's roughly, they've broken it into, there's a Premier Division, there's, I think it's Championship that we have somehow managed to get into, and we're getting hammered every week. 6-2 in our first match, and then we got beat 5-2 at home in our second match. So we're improving, so we've got a game on Sunday, so maybe it might only be 4-2, but and then there's a League One, and then there's an over 40s league, so there's roughly about half a dozen teams in each division. So it's so yeah, I think as word is spreading, more and more teams around kind of Belfast, Portadown, Lurgan, Craigavon, Armagh direction are starting to enter it, which is great. It's good crack, still competitive, don't get me wrong. Still a few tackles are put in, but yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about the taking part, but you still don't want to get hammered 6-2 and 5-2 every week at the same time, but nowadays it's good getting out and getting an hour away from the child, which is always nice. But so you kicked a bit of ball, playing a bit of Sunday League football across the water. So then, obviously, at some point you've decided to come home. But you were doing a bit of coaching. You were saying as well. Was it over in England?
Yeah. So I went over for a degree, and after I graduated, during my degree, I got involved with a regional program at Norwich City, and then I did that for a good number of years, and I was very lucky where not only was I coaching in their regional program, but I also got involved in the scouting and player recruitment side of it, and also then from that then I did a few sessions and bits of work with the academy as well and the coaches there. So I was really, really lucky, and that is definitely, I would say, a highlight for me, and going into work at Colney Training Centre and the facilities they have there was unbelievable. Managed to watch under 16s, 18s, and under 23s train. Just being in that environment and working with coaches who were ex-pros and so on was fantastic. And then after I graduated, coached the ladies team of the university, and then the following year, that went really well. The following year then was invited to take on the role of the men's coach. So did that there again. Some excellent players, brilliant quality players and good lads as well. And then from that, my next role was with a local college, and then a local team as well. Came after the college, the role with the college. So I've, varied experience there, good experience, and some of the quality of players that I managed to see and work with has been fantastic. And again, some of the coaches that I work with, to see them at work, to ask their advice, to see their sessions and take the bits from them, it really was a privilege, really.
Fantastic. So you packed in so much in those couple of years. So what exactly, just out of pure nosiness, what you talked about sort of your player recruitment kind of role at Norwich. What did that entail, or what exactly did that involve?
So I would have been a part of their local recruitment. So I would have watched players in and around Norfolk and Suffolk. And really then the idea was to bring them into what they call the player development centres. So these were scattered all around the county. From that then, the young players would have kind of fed into the Centre of Excellence programme and then into the academy then. So it was just about creating that I suppose, a pathway that they didn't miss anybody out, and we were out watching games several times a week. Maybe it was under 8s, under 10s, 11s, 14s, whatever it might be. And again, I was quite lucky that I managed to get involved with the other scouts and going to watch more senior games. So I watched likes of Chelsea under 18s, was it 18s at the time, yeah, and Arsenal under 18s as well. And I was very, very lucky where I managed to be kind of there and speaking to other scouts and other guys involved in player recruitment and looking at players and how they fitted the Norwich style and the Norwich kind of way of playing, which is what kind of we were basing our recruitment on. So they had like 5 pillars that of the club's DNA that we were focused on, and we kind of graded players on, if you like.
Very good, very, very exciting. Also been great kind of getting involved with that. So, and obviously you're involved with a bit of coaching as well. Did you enjoy then the coaching aspect? I suppose it's different than maybe managing a team and managing egos and trying to keep people happy as a coach. Did you enjoy that a wee bit more, just maybe taking a wee step back from, being at the forefront of everything as a manager, but actually developing players and seeing players develop? And did you enjoy that aspect of football?
Yeah, that's a huge part of what I enjoy is developing players and developing kids' skill sets, giving them not only football skills but also then your lifelong skills as well. That's going to do them for the rest of their lives, whether it's maybe a bit of self-confidence, whether it's just improving their self-esteem, whether it's in terms of goalkeepers, building their resilience, because they can take that into all different forms of their lives. So, it is. I recently met a young goalkeeper that I had a few years back, and he had, in a game that was very public, he made a few mistakes and it led to goals, and he got absolutely hammered on social media for it. But see him then a few years later, still playing football, change of position, but really enjoying it and really playing with a smile on his face. And that was brilliant. I was so proud of how he did and the improvements that he made. But yeah, I also then quite like the competitive side to it as well. Taking first team, I do really enjoy that. But development now at youth level, at under 17, so I'm developing now young men to go into senior football. I don't treat them as boys; I treat them as young men, and I think and I hope they appreciate that. And it's then about, can we give them the skill set to go and play senior football? 2, can we give them enough confidence, enough self-belief, enough of their own determination to go and play senior football? Because it's not easy breaking in. It's not easy staying in either, but we're very lucky at Enniskillen Rangers where we have a good club ethos around youth development. We have a very good history of developing youth players all the way back to the 1950s, and that's where the majority of our players come from. Mickey Kerr, the gaffer now, he's very, very I suppose into developing youth players, and he's not afraid to take chances and start young men, young teenagers. We've got some fantastically talented young teenagers at the club who are chomping at the bit for their time, whether it's in reserves or first team, and really eager to continue to develop and play as much as they can.
Fantastic. We'll be talking about Enniskillen Rangers then shortly. Just since we were kind of chatting about your time at North City, of course there's a Fermanagh doing pretty well at their big rivals at Ipswich.
Yeah.
Kieran McKenna. What do you make of his spell at Ipswich. You know what, it's fantastic to see, because he got so much stick for whatever reason, probably just through association with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the backroom team there, but he got so much stick. So for him to take up a huge job in Ipswich Town, because they're a massive football club, it doesn't seem that long ago they were in the Premier League for a couple of years, and obviously then in the Championship for so many years, and then dropped down to League One. He's doing a fantastic job there, and I think in the last home game did something like 28,000, which says it all. He's getting the crowds back. They're playing exciting football. It must be great to see, especially him being a Fermanagh man.
It really is, and it's great to see the progress that he himself has made. As a young coach. I mean, I think he's still 36 or so. So, for him to come through likes of the Spurs academy and then join Manchester United and get as far as first team coach, and then take the chance, because it was taking a chance by leaving United, where sometimes a coach, because the manager gets the brunt of it, a coach can be almost seen as a safer position. So then moving to Ipswich and putting himself on the forefront of it, was a brave move, but definitely one that is paying off for him. He's a fantastic advert, I think, for local coaches. I really do believe that in Northern Ireland we have got some top coaches and that know the game inside out, that are producing fantastic players and can make the move maybe as coaches to across the water, or maybe even abroad. Where there's a lot more coaching opportunities and coaching, I suppose, that happens all over the world than just in England or in Scotland. So to see Kieran doing really well, I wish him the best and hope that really does continue until they meet Norwich. Obviously, I've kind of adopted them as my second club.
Very good. No, he is. He's doing a great job, and long may it continue. So to go back then to Enniskillen Rangers, so you're coaching the under 17. So would you be in close contact with the first team manager? Would you be saying, like, we've got Joe Bloggs here, who's exciting left winger. I think he's a year or two away from making the grade, or what way does it work? Would you all be sort of in close contact about players, and do you have to play a similar system to what the first team would play, or what way does that setup work then?
Well, yeah, so we'd be in close contact with first team and reserve team manager, and our youth chairman is our under 19s manager as well. So a good close working relationship there, that he's also not afraid to play the guys, and bring them up to challenge them. And if they do well and they accept the challenge, and then maybe challenge them in the reserves, a few minutes here and there, and push on. At under 17s, what I've kind of been working on is trying to get the boys to understand their roles and responsibilities when playing different systems, maybe playing different ways of football, come up against different opposition. It might be okay playing a 4-4-2, but what happens if the team's maybe, well, to use a modern terminology, in a low block? What happens if they're defend really deep? Or what happens in the reverse if they're playing really high, if they're a high pressing team? How can we solve this problem? So, I'm always trying to improve the boys' understanding of the game, because whenever you go and play first team level, every team that you play each week, they might play slightly different. You may play a team from Fermanagh and Western one week, and you might know how they play and how they're going to play, and that's fine. But then your following week, you might go play in the Junior Cup. A team from Belfast might play completely different, and you need to know and have the answers in your locker how to get by and get around that. So it's constantly evolving and moving. And saying it's because football is changing all the time. How football is played and how people see it played and how people want to play it. It's then about trying to give the boys enough information and the right information at the right time to go and put their own stamp on a game, and say to kind of give them the keys to unlock what they have and what it means to be a first team player here.
And what would be your preferred position or formation? Would you go for the 4-3-3 Jurgen Klopp formation, or do you like to have a couple options in the bag, or 3-5-2 maybe? Richie loves a 3-5-2, loves it. Don't think it works at over 35s, mind you, two wing backs, but anyway.
Too much ground to cover. But yeah, I like to have a few different formations in locker. Previously 4-2-3-1 or 4-5-1 when defending. 4-3-3, yeah, very, very popular as well. 3-5-2, yeah. I think for me, it's all about what players do you have, and do you have the players to play that system? Because we're not in a position where we can just go out and buy players. If we have 3 extremely capable and very, very good centre backs and 2 rapid wing backs, and yeah, no problem, we can play 3-5-2, but it all does depend on the players. But for me, when you're dealing with player development, it's about trying to give them enough knowledge that, okay, what happens if this week, we've played the past 3 or 4 weeks 4 at the back, we're now going to move to a 3. How does your role change? What's your role now? And what's your responsibilities within this setup? It's all about trying to improve the players and help them understand. Because if they don't understand, then it's just numbers on a page, really.
And do you feel young players these days, do you think they have a far better understanding of tactics and formation compared to maybe, say, 20, 30 years ago when I was kicking ball? Because I can remember, watching the Premiership in the 90s, and pretty much every team probably would have played a 4-4-2. There might have been the odd side, might have played a 3-5-2. You had your bog standard 2 wingers, 2 forwards. You might have had the odd maybe deep end, maybe centre forward like a Teddy Sheringham or a Cantona. There wasn't as much focus really on tactics until the likes of, I suppose, Wenger and Mourinho and Rafa Benitez came. Gerard Houllier as well in the early 2000s. Do you feel now young players coming through, they have more of an awareness on the different formations and half spaces and, as you said, low blocks or defending deep?
Yeah, I think from FIFA and my personal favourite, Football Manager.
Oh, I love Football Manager.
Yeah, players are starting to learn a lot more, and they can rhyme off their formations and the positions quite naturally now. Where yes, before maybe they weren't able to, but it's about then having that deeper understanding. I remember I went to a session about 2 or 3 years ago, and I asked the players, right, where do you play? Where do you play? And then about 5 players said, I play number 10. I said, okay, well, we can't play with 5 number 10s. I said, right, what do you know about a number 10? What does he do? And one little boy puts up the hands, he goes, he's the magician, he makes it happen. Okay, well, what does he do if we don't have the ball? And then he looked at me and he's kind of thinking, I'm not sure. So then it's like, okay, well, what you got now, instead of calling you a number 10, what we're now going to do is we're going to call you an attacking midfielder. So when we're attacking, you go and you can join in the attack, but when we're defending, you become a midfielder. And it's just about the simple, really simple language to give the information, kind of what you want out of them, because I don't think any team in the world, even Man City or Liverpool, could play with 5 number 10s.
Yeah, 100%. Although I would love to play a number 10 position. If Richie, if you're listening, I'd love to play number 10 for the over 35s, but he always takes me right back, which is my position, to be honest, but I wouldn't mind a wee rule there. So give us a lowdown then on the I'm sure you still obviously you follow your Enniskillen Rangers, the senior side. I know maybe they're a bit off the pace, from the sides at the top of the table, but there's a long way to go. But it looks as if it could be a pretty competitive Division 1 again. You've got your rivals, Enniskillen Town United, they're top at the minute. TAMHI Athletic will be looking to defend their big title. So a lot of teams up there. It's going to be, it looks as if it's going to be a pretty interesting season. And Derby reserves, obviously, I'm sure are going to be thereabouts come the end of the season, and hopefully yourselves.
Yeah, this is probably as tight as I think it's probably going to be in terms of the number of teams challenging. As you say, Enniskillen Town there, they've started really, really well. Very, very strong start. Chummery and Strathroy are always very, very good as well. They take points off nearly everybody. It's not so much now. It used to be where you maybe had one team, two teams, maybe even three teams run away from the pack. I don't think you're going to get that this year. And it makes it for a more interesting division, really. The likes of Lisbalaw and Beresford, they're recruited very, very well, and both sit there on 12 points after their round of games there last weekend. But yeah, you can never rule out Derby reserves and even cash there. But of course ourselves as well. I always back the Rangers boys to do well and keep challenging. It can be difficult, I think, whenever you are a club maybe in transition as well, where you're bringing young players through, you're wanting to give them more game time, but you're also trying to challenge at the top of the league. So you need to get that experience of having the young players plus the experience and the old heads who've been there and done it. So it's going to be a really, really good season, I think, for the Fermanagh and Western Football League, really. Some very, very big clubs there. Derry Charles come up again, challenging and doing really well. Mountjoy, Machiavelli have recruited a big number of players as well, and then the likes of Athletic will always take very, very hard beaten. So it's going to be a really, really interesting, really interesting year, actually.
Yeah, it certainly will. Because we were kind of chatting before. Everybody kind of almost forgets about the Fermanagh and Western League. It's always Mid Ulster League or it's Amateur League. But when you look at, I was just looking at the last 10 Junior Cup finals. And you know yourself, the Junior Cup is huge competition at that level. The last 10 finals, there's 7 of the last 10 finals have involved Fermanagh and Western teams. And one of those finals was an all Fermanagh and Western Junior Cup final. And as you'll know yourself, Enniskillen Rangers have a rich history in the competition. So I was having a look at past winners. You've been in the final, I stand corrected, but I counted 8 Junior Cup final appearances, 4 wins and 4 defeats. And you did win it not too long ago, 3 times in a row. And could have won it a record 4 times, but lost in penalties.
That's right.
So a fantastic history, not only that Enniskillen Rangers have in the Junior Cup, but the Fermanagh and Western side as well. And maybe having a really competitive league will hold those sides in, I suppose, good stead when it comes to the Junior Cup. Because you know yourself, sometimes if, as you said, if there are just 1 or 2 teams really competing for the league, it can be difficult sometimes to, if you're winning games pretty easy in your own league, to kind of switch it on in a big competition like the Junior Cup. So it could work out well for those 6 or 7 teams involved for the championship when it comes to the Junior Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the Junior Cup, as you say, has always been very good to Rangers and to Fermanagh overall. And this year as well, you look at the results there in the Junior Cup from last weekend. Where I think it stands where most Fermanagh teams competed really well, and ourselves there winning 5-1 against Kilray, who are a good side as well. And it is a competition that Fermanagh teams enjoy. I remember myself going as a supporter for many years and enjoying a good cup day out. and you always fancied your chances as well. Rangers will always take a good support as well. So the next round we have Belfast Celtic reserves, which will be an interesting matchup. And as well, there's for me the tie of the round is Chummery against Berra. The two teams there again on all from on a Western tie, but there's only 3 points separating them in the league, and it'll be a really, really good tie. That it's so difficult to call which way that one will go, but all the Fermanagh Western teams, whenever they go and play in the Junior Cup, they always fancy their chances, whether it's at home or away. So it's a competition that's been really, really good to local clubs. I mean, Strathroy won it, I believe it was 2 times back to back as well. So it's a competition that clubs from here really enjoy playing in, and will hopefully continue to get success in.
Definitely must be something in the air or something, just a winning mentality or something. I don't know what it is. Fantastic to see.
They're coming in here.
Too far for them. Yeah. Before we kind of move on to your Keepie Uppies, which we chatted about earlier, you said you found it extremely difficult. You had to change your mind several times. We'll have to obviously talk about the Virtual Irish Cup. So tell us, how did it all come about? Why did it come about? Just tell us a wee bit about it, because it was absolutely fantastic idea and great to see it turned out brilliant as well. But tell us a wee bit about it, the whole kind of history behind it.
So it came from a lot of things, as a lot of things did over lockdown. Boredom. It started in February 21, I think it was February, March time, and obviously there was no football on, there was no Junior Cup, no Irish Cup, no league, and I thought, I miss that interaction with whether it was coaches or players or fans. I miss that interaction that football brings, and especially that bit of to and fro and backward that a cup competition brings, really. So it came about from an idea that me and my brother used to do many years ago. We would kind of make a draw, like an FA Cup style draw, and just play it out in the park or at home or on the PlayStation, whatever it might be, and try and find a winner. So my idea was to start that on Twitter but do it with the Irish Cup, and people could vote on who they wanted to see progress onto the next round. So I looked up all the teams that entered the first round of the Irish Cup from the year before, randomly drew them out, and put it on Twitter and let people vote on who they want to see. The first round, not getting many votes, 10, 20, maybe 30. But there was interaction, there was a bit of to and back and forth from clubs, from fans, and that's what I wanted to get out of it. And as the competition went on, the bigger teams entered and they got put out by smaller teams, and people were interacting with them. I got what I wanted out of it, or I thought I did anyway. When we got to the final, in the 2021 edition was Ballymacastre Rangers and Armagh City, and the two clubs and myself, we kind of got together and we says, it would be fantastic if we could play this out in person. And then the idea came about to play it out for charity. So we put a few ideas around who to select for charity. We decided on TAMHI, local mental health charity, and I spoke with Joe and the guys, and they were over the moon that they were going to get some support there, because mental health was a huge issue, and always has been a huge issue in Northern Ireland. In terms of, for example, in terms of our suicide rate, we're the highest in 16 countries of Europe. Our small country has got a massive rate of mental ill health and mental issues as well. And it was great to actually do this for something that personally I think really needs more said about, more awareness brought forward of. And TAMHI, Joe and the guys are fantastic. They do a lot of work now with Irish FA, and I'm involved in this as well. And the head of the game program, which is Irish FA's mental health program. So it was a very, very worthwhile charity and a good one to pick. So it was a fantastic game of football that first year. Played it at home park in Armagh. We got a great crowd down to it, and it was a great day's crack and a great day's football. And it was brilliant to see whenever the restrictions lifted, so many people come together for a good cause. And we raised over £1,300 that first year. It was fantastic. It was really, really chuffed. I never thought that what I thought was quite a simple and maybe even silly idea started over a bit of lockdown boredom could go on to raise money for charity. It really was fantastic. Unfortunately, Oxford Sunnyside was knocked out in the first round, in case you were wondering.
Disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. But anyway, sorry.
So then 2022 decided to run it again. I was thinking of different ways how to drum up more awareness and more support and more even funds for the guys at TAMHI, because I spoke to Joe quite a lot in the run up to it, and we tried to come up with different ideas. So I managed to get sponsors for the competition in general, within MFC Sportswear, and then also for each individual round as well. So it was all about, I would tag these guys in the round that they sponsored, word would spread, and hopefully then that we'd reach more and more people. So it really was really exploded and really kind of reached numbers that I didn't think it would. Several hundreds of people was voting and commenting and giving a wee bit of banter back and forward, which again was brilliant. And again, Oxford Sunnyside went out in the first round. Sorry.
So rigged or something? What is going on here? I don't even know why I'm interviewing you now. I'm absolutely insulted.
You will get voting next year. The two teams that made the final this year, Hanover from Mid-Ulster and Hollywood as well. Again, another great game of football. I was very happy that the two finals that we had were played at maximum pace. They weren't played like a pre-season friendly, even though it was held in pre-season. It was played like a proper league game, a proper cup final. The two teams were going at each other and giving it their all. And it was brilliant. Hollywood then won in 2022, and the guys really did all they could about delivering this positive mental health message as well, positive mental fitness for all, and not making sure that we had two teams there. We had a bar full of guys and families, and making sure that everybody knew that if you're not feeling okay, if something is bothering you, if something is up, if you are feeling down, you can turn to your mate, you can turn to your club, and your club will help you. And these clubs really show that, and that's something I'm very keen to support and very keen to help other clubs with. Is maybe they're very keen to do it, to support their players, because it's off the top of my head, I think it's 1 in 4, 1 in 5 men will suffer from a mental illness. So if you have a club of two teams, you probably have nearly 55, 60 players, and there's a huge number of men that potentially could suffer from mental illness or mental ill health. And if these clubs don't know where to turn for support, I'm more than happy to point them in the right direction, to offer them support. The IFA's program there as well now that they're running ahead of the game does that. They go out to clubs, they support clubs with that, they give people within clubs the education and the right, I suppose, information where to signpost people, which is extremely, extremely important. So that was all that the Virtual Irish Cup does. That's kind of what we're all about, and to raise money again for a worthwhile charity. TAMHI are trying to get money together to get an app going where the support that players, clubs, parents maybe will be at the end of your fingertips, and it'll all be kind of designed around the club or the person that are using it. And not only now are they involved in football, but in a wide range of sports, whether it's GAA, rugby, whatever it might be. These guys are always there to support men and women and sports clubs with the knowledge and with the signposting. So it's a charity that I feel very strongly about, and a cause I feel really, really passionate about. And it's amazing in the amount of stories and the amount of things you hear when you start talking about mental health and you start talking about mental health issues. So you go, yeah, well, I dealt with this, or yeah, I know somebody that did this, or well, I found this helped me, and you get that conversation going. And it's very difficult sometimes, I think, especially as young men, to have that conversation or to know where to go, or you don't want to be seen as being weak or maybe not man enough to deal with those issues. But there's no weakness in that. There's no issues there that, with a group of guys or with a team or with whoever, with your club, that you cannot get past. The support and the help will always be there if a young person or old person, whoever it might be, need it. The support will always be there.
Fantastic. You're doing some great work. Something, a very simple idea, but a genius idea. And I know you were saying at the start, you were only maybe getting 20, 30 votes and people interact at the beginning, but that's 20, 30 people that you're having an impact on. So for me, even at the very start, objective achieved, but now you're reaching out to hundreds and hundreds of people now, which is great. So I can only applaud you for that, virtually applaud you. So is there going to be a 2023 Irish Cup? And hopefully Oxford Sunnyside get into the second round?
Yes, the plan is to have a 2023 version. Taking a little break after the last one, because there is a lot of organising to it. There's a lot of work goes into it, and I say massive credit has to go to Joe down at TAMHI, and also somebody who's helped me out massively with. He's my co-manager at Enniskillen Rangers is Peter Hazard. He done all the graphics for me and helped me a lot on that side of things, where I'm not very I suppose up to date with. But Peter was brilliant and Joe was brilliant. But the idea is take it one more step. Can we go one more step further? We've raised more money this year than we did last. Can we do that again? Can we possibly even look about playing the semi-finals as well and taking it to different parts of Northern Ireland? Twice now. We played in Armagh. We played it was at Newfords Lane in Belfast in 2022. Go somewhere different, play the two semi-finals somewhere completely different as well. Allow fans, allow families, allow people maybe a day away, treat it like a proper sort of cup tie, neutral ground, all that. Can we speak to the bigger clubs to get a big stadium and really make a statement where we get lots and lots of people into the ground, all delivering, all trying to raise support for such an important message.
Super. So just keep up the great work. So we're gonna roll on then with Keepie Uppies. Happy enough?
Yeah.
So let me see. I'm just bringing it up here, Lee. Okay. So we're gonna kick things off. So the first two then, the best team that you ever played for, and who was your best captain? So it's up to you. You can answer this whether these are teammates, players that you coached, whatever you prefer. So the best team you ever played for or coached, or the best captain?
Yeah, I think there's going to be no right answer here on any of these, because I'm going to leave somebody out or offend somebody. I'm going to get plenty of messages after this going, how did you pick him over me, and so on. But the best team for me have to be a team that I coached. I think for the quality in the squad and the togetherness of the boys was a team we had in England, Hingham Athletic. Great quality players. We played in a division that, to be honest, was well beneath a lot of the boys. And we had to slog it out to get promoted. But the togetherness that the boys showed, we had some fantastic characters and brilliant players. The players that would go on to leave the club would go to play in semi-pro football, a few of them. So they were going to do great things, and it was a club where we brought in young players as well. We were keen to get a young squad together and a few older heads to keep things in check. But it really was. We had a great time there, and we done so well. That was. And then the captain of the team, I'm probably going to have to pick him for best captain, Jake McGee. He was a great captain, led by example, always gave 100%. Really got to know each player and each individual player as well. And, the boys would follow him into battle. So he really was a fantastic captain. Jake was an excellent lad.
Okay, and then the next two then, best goal scorer and best touch.
These were the hard ones. Goal scorer. Oh, it's a tough one because there were so many good goal scorers I've worked with. I'm going to have to go Ricky Carroll, I think. Clabby Strollers and then Fermanagh Town. Ricky could score goals for fun. He still is scoring now for Fermanagh Town, and he's still leading the line there. He a goal machine on his day. There was no stopping him. If he got one, he'd get two, he'd get three, he'd get four. There was just no stopping Ricky. Wouldn't like me saying it, but he's getting on a bit, so he needs to try and get as many goals in as he can over the next few years. Great goal scorer Ricky was, and still is.
And then what about best touch then? Best touch, best goalkeeper, and best defender.
So best touch is the one I couldn't decide on for a long time. If I had worst touch, that would be an easier one, but
we'll go worst touch then.
Oh no, can't do that. Definitely get slaughtered. Best touch, I'm going to go another player we had at Hingham Athletic, Marcus Ashley. Great touch on him, played as a front two, or kind of as a 10, and ball went into his feet. He could turn on a sixpence. He could play out, and he always was happy to receive the ball in tight areas. It was really, really difficult for the defenders to get the ball off him. His stature, small stature as well. If defenders try to get up close to him, it was really, really difficult to try and not foul him. He's probably the one that, I could say without causing too much arguments. Goalkeeper then, I'm going to go for a young goalkeeper I work with, and I think there's so much more to come of him. Jamie Ray at Ballymallard. Jamie's a cracking keeper, very mature head on him as well. I worked with him. I was lucky to work with him at the Super Cup. He's part of my squad there, and unfortunately in that Super Cup, due to injury, Jamie wasn't able to take part as much as he or I would have liked. But I had to make the decision there to put his health first. So again, go back to the resilience of a goalkeeper. It was absolutely fantastic to see him come back from that and perform for Ballymallard and get into the first team, and now competing to be a starting keeper there. So yeah, that's, I wish Jimmy all the best, and always have. He's a good lad. Defender. Defender. I'm gonna have to go back in time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back in time and go to. Funny, I'm coaching his son now, but Bob Carroll. So Bob was just, he played for Ballymallard for years, but if the ball went, it was like the ball was a magnet to Bob. He headed it for fun, and I seen attackers bounce off him and get nowhere near him, and he was just an absolute rock at centre back. It's probably him. I'd never seen attackers bounce like that before off a defender.
Very good. So what about the next couple then? Best midfielder and then best striker.
Best midfielder. So I don't know. There's a lot of great shout-outs. Like, Robbie Malone at Hingham as well. Brilliant passer of a ball. Jack Ovens, he's now Portadown. I had him in midfield. At the Super Cup, I'm going to have to go again back in time and back to and I'm actually going to go for a family member here in Derek Brown. Derek played at Clabby Strollers, and he was, in his later years, went into full back, but it was just a calm head. Nothing seemed to get near him, to get at him. Could tackle hard, very hard tackler, as I found out whenever I was in training at 15, 16. As many of us did, but very fair and always happy to help the younger players there as well. It was all on best forward. Best forward, Marcus McNary. I think for Hingham, the lad scored goals for fun, and he was one that I said that he went on to play at a higher level. His movement as well, it was extremely difficult to know where he was going to go. He had that turn of pace. If you look at Haaland, for example, he had that turn of pace over 5 to 10 yards, where you think you have him, and the next minute he's thrown down the pitch and he's in space. And you give any great goal scorer and any great forward space, you're going to be punished. So Marcus was fantastic in terms of that, and I was so happy to see that he went on to play at a good level, and I hope he's still enjoying his football now.
Super, some great shout-outs. So we'll do 3 more, because I'm just conscious you've given us so much of your time, which has been fantastic. What about then these last couple, and these are going to be tricky as well. Best left foot, best right foot, and then finally your best manager.
Best left foot. I'm going to stick with that Clabby side. Go Davy Little. Davy was the only player that I knew that could intentionally score from corners. People often talk about the wand of left foot. He had a rocket. I think teams were scared to put up a wall for his free kicks. He would score from his own half. The guy his left foot was fantastic. Right foot, that's a tricky one. The lefties always tend to stand out.
There's so few of them. I think the right footies, like myself. Yeah, there's so many of us.
Yeah.
It's always a hard one.
I could cheat a wee bit, because I've recently done my UFAB, and Richie Clark was on it, and captain of Ballymallard. Now you can see while he's still playing at a very good level. but I think that would be cheating because I suppose technically didn't play. But I'm going to go Robbie Malone. I give Robbie a shout out. Robbie was part of that Hingham team again. Great passer of a ball, and again went on to play at a much higher level where he probably should have been playing all along. But his vision and his passing ability was fantastic, and didn't shy away from a challenge either. Didn't mind sticking in the right foot where it was needed. But yeah, Robbie, and what a top lad he is as well. Absolutely gem of a person Robbie is. Best manager is the last one.
That's it.
Coach alongside some fantastic coaches. I don't know if I could really pick between them. Manager that team Hingham with us as well. Bob Malone was fantastic. Again, such a wonderful person. Chris McDowell, I'm sure you know him well there down at Fermanagh Town. Top coach, absolutely brilliant coach. Noel Mitchell as well, worked with Noel in the girls program, the RCFA girls program. And the one thing about Noel is whenever you ask any of the girls and the ladies involved in the international setup who's their best coach, they always go back to Noel. And when you watch his sessions, it's easy to see why. He's an outstanding coach and has done so much for the girls program and the development of girls football in Northern Ireland over the years. Was there during the really tough years, really hard years, and has really helped develop the likes of Simone McGill there, and girls I believe owe a huge debt. That and we do as a lover of all things football here in Northern Ireland, and it's great to see now that other clubs are trying to develop girls program. But yeah, Noel was an absolutely top coach. I can't break the three apart.
No, that's fair enough. As I said, you've it's a tough one that as well. You probably work with some top coaches, managers, and whatever, and they're all brilliant in their own ways. So we'll let you off the hook. Don't worry. We don't want to insult too many people. I think you've insulted enough. So we're going to spin the wheel of Burba. So this is going to stop on some contentious hot topic in football.
Okay.
So we're going to ask you then, VAR Light, we're led to believe, is going to be soon introduced here in Northern Ireland. How important do you think is its introduction, I suppose, in improving the standard of refereeing here in Northern Ireland? Or is it something that we should just avoid and just leave things as they are? What's your thoughts?
It's a really tough one. At the start of technology coming to football, I was really against it. I have to say, I was really a purist. I believe the football that you play in the park or football you play at a youth level should be the same all the way through. But yes, there is that. Then when you get to a certain level, the additions, the technologies there to incorporate into it. It can definitely and it will definitely help referees. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. I suppose like any football fan regarding VAR or regarding whether it's the full version or the light version, we do have a lot of questions. My first question kind of would be around the expense of it. I know it's not as expensive as the VAR system, but still there will be an expense to it. And can Irish league clubs really kind of, I suppose, afford that on a regular basis? Will all clubs, like the smaller clubs that maybe just come up? I'm thinking maybe of an example there, like Ballymolloy United. If they get promotion, are they able to put the funds in place where they can get VAR Light? Do they have the structure and the infrastructure around the club for that? And then actually on that, it probably will only be reduced at the top level, but the promotion relegation playoff, is that going to have it in, Ballymolloy getting maybe 3 points or whatever it might be to go from on the last day of the season, third to second, might be more valuable than a team jumping from 8th to 7th in the Premiership. It's these kind of things that we just need to be maybe cautious of as well. Is it going to be introduced to the Women's League? It's obviously an elite division now as well. What about cup competitions? There's a lot of questions surrounding it. I think it would be quite maybe naive to just jump straight in for it. Even a simple thing like the number of referees, because you need somebody, whether it's the National Stadium, whether it's at a neutral venue, whatever it might be, in the car park, to use the facilities as well. So are you going to take referees away there from other games or other football matches and things surrounding football, because there's very much a shortage of referees in Northern Ireland, and it's how are we going to work around that? So there's a lot of questions to it, but I think to further improve the standard of refereeing, I do think it's needed. We just have to be, or I am just, maybe it's just me being cautious about it, as well, from maybe that purist background.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think quite a few things need ironed out before it's obviously introduced. I think there can be plus points of it, but I'm just not 100% sure about it. I was kind of for VAR when it first came out a couple of seasons ago. Has it massively improved the game? The Premier League games, when I'm watching, I don't think it has.
Yeah. And even stuff like that, the Dungannon against Linfield game there at the weekend, the camera angle from where the send off was, it's not a great angle. If how are you going to make sure and get angles of all the pitch? Is the quality going to be good enough that you can see somebody's studs hitting their ankle first instead of the ball, and so on? There is a lot of questions, and a lot of, it's just not going to be as simple as put it in place and away we go. We've seen actually, if I remember right, was it VAR Field during the game when we first came back after COVID, or was goal line technology? And actually ended up meaning Sheffield United were relegated. So, it won't always work. And on a very windy night in
Oregon,
and is it going to work 100% with the weather conditions? We don't know. It's something that just I think we need to be cautious of. But again, it is the way that the future's going, and the way that the future football is going. So we need to move with the times. So I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I think a few of us are. As you said, you've raised some really good points there that obviously need answered before it's even considered. But Lee, thanks a million for taking the time out to speak to us about your fantastic journey in football, coaching, your fantastic work with the Virtual Irish Cup and TAMHI, and of course with Enniskillen under 17s, and hopefully developing the stars of the future. Add a few more junior cups to the four that the club have achieved. Great speaking to you.
Very much.
Brilliant. And yes, thanks a million. Keep in touch, and we'll hopefully have the podcast up live tomorrow sometime. So you take it easy and look after yourself.
Brilliant. You too. Thanks again for having me.
All right. Good luck now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.